Okay, so we're going to write our way to your first 5K in 30 days, even if you're a beginner or working full time. And I'm going to talk about a 3-part digital marketing 101 triple whammy you can learn even if you don't have any previous experience, because how I got started. So my intention is for you to leave this workshop feeling like you've got some new clarity, know what's possible for you, and that it's not too late to create the best of your life, no matter what else may be happening or what else you may have encountered up to this point. I certainly know all about that, because the foundation of this begins with one basic skill, and that's called copywriting. Now, I didn't even know what copywriting was until I started becoming a copywriter. I'll tell you all about that in just a minute. But copywriting is, my own definition of this is the process of writing the words that attract, persuade, educate, engage, and empower every aspect of selling a product, a concept, or an idea. And it isn't necessarily always an exchange of money, for example. It could be that you're just bringing people into a new way of thinking, but it takes that core communication, which we call copywriting, to be able to do that. And yes, even with ChatGPT, digital writing by a human is still in great demand. In fact, you really need to understand the concept, the basic core strategies of copywriting and marketing to be able to use ChatGPT or any other AI tool effectively. And I'm a big fan of ChatGPT. I use it all the time, but I use it in a lot of other ways other than just write copy for me. There's a lot of different ways to use it. More good news, if you're thinking about joining the ranks as an actual freelance copywriter, we're not talking about working for an agency. This is about being entrepreneurial. This is about being independent, where you don't get grilled on how many degrees do you have and all those things. I don't have any of that, and I started without any of that. And that's why I always promote freelance copywriting, so that you are the boss of you. And so as a copywriter, though, you're not responsible for any of the design elements, the technology, generating the traffic to the site, putting the emails into a sequence. You write them, but you don't have to do the implementation part. That's for someone else on a team or the entrepreneur business person you might be working with. Now, if you're doing this for yourself, you are going to need to either do that for yourself if you have your own product, your own program, or you're going to have a team, or you're going to have a freelancer that helps you. Like I have someone that helps me with my tech. But as a copywriter, you're only responsible for 2 things: basic marketing strategy that we're going to go over today, and also writing the copy, figuring out how that communication is going to look. And you can get started fast just by learning 3 powerful copywriting components. They are what I call the triple whammy digital marketing framework. It calls it Digital Marketing 101 also. You're going to learn about landing page, the opt-in, what you do with that. What is that? You're going to learn how to write the email sequences, super important to be able to write emails, and a sales letter, right? That's the big long letter. We call it a sales letter. It could be the longer form copy on a website where you go to a site and here's the headline and all the things. That's what we call the sales letter. Now, you might be here today because you want the freedom and flexibility to work on your own terms. Maybe you want to make more financial independence for yourself as you're growing older. Maybe you're coming out of another profession. We have decades of experience that you want to leverage, and I promise you can. And that you're interested in transitioning to working for yourself. If you're not already, you need a reliable plan. And the other bullet point I would add here is that you might already have a program or coaching program or a product that you are putting out into the world, and you're still wobbly on how you're actually going to communicate all of that. So this covers all of those things. The only question is, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? There's lots of copywriting programs out there, lots of different ways to learn. But what it comes down to, are you going to use the smart, efficient, proven way, or the slow way, the slow snail way? And what I mean by that is, a lot of people I'm just going to try and do it on my own. I'm just going to look for the free stuff online, see what I can come up with. And that might get you started, but it's going to be a slow slog, I would say, to try and do it all on your own. I couldn't do it all on my own when I first started. And I really don't think I know anybody that has completely in isolation done it all by themselves. It just really slows you down so much. Now, in case we haven't met yet, I'm Tina Lorenz, and I'm really excited to be with you today because I do want to share just even the mindset shift that's going on right now. That's been something I've incorporated in my programs for quite a while, but it's becoming more and more prominent, more and more important that we have that essential connection. And I've been on my own since 17. Some of you may know the story. I'll just tell it really briefly, because my purpose in that is that hopefully it inspires you. If you think, oh, I can't do this because of this, or I never had a chance to do that, or whatever. I have no college. I have no degree. I was on my own when I was 17 years old. I didn't get any kind of special training on anything except survival, basically. I went to Seattle when I was 17, got myself emancipated in court so I could make my own decisions. And I spent years just hustling and the grind, seriously, the grind to just try to make a living, try to make enough money. I ended up married and then divorced, like many of us, after an 18-year marriage. But then the biggest challenges of my life, I was nearly murdered in a domestic violence situation. It was a one-time event. Actually, someone that I'd met within a year after I got my divorce. I saved my kids and myself, but we lost every material possession that we had, everything, absolutely had nothing left. Became homeless over that, had to go live in a shelter, domestic violence shelter. And eventually, though, met my husband, Ron, my later life love that led me to Ron, who happens to be legally blind. And the reason I add that is simply because we understand, he and I, what it's like to have to overcome challenges, have to move through things that might be what some people might interpret as obstacles. We had to move to another state. We were living in Washington State. We had to move because we were being stalked by the perpetrator of this domestic violence. And so eventually what we had to do is we hit the road in an RV. This is how our RV life began, so we could keep moving to stay safe. And I got my kids going in college. That's a whole other story of how that happened. My daughter went to college after her junior year of high school. My son had full tuition scholarships. And so this is how we overcame. And so Ron and I started doing promotional tours and selling face-to-face. We had to survive. We had to figure out a way to survive. So we started selling stuff and also just doing promotions where we got people interested in something that a big ad agency was doing. We got worn down by that. It was very tough physical work, a lot of moving around and a lot of big setups, heavy duty setups. And so we had to find something new. And basically it was up to me because of Ron's vision, and he was not able to do what he had done previously. And so I read an article online about copywriting. When I did, it just lit up. I'd never heard of it, didn't know what it was, but I made a decision, really an instant decision, that I was going to become a freelance copywriter. And I started that in September of 2004. The other thing about this is my very first year with no experience, didn't know what the heck I was doing, didn't have a website for most of it. I made $500,000 my first year. Okay. Nobody was more shocked than I was. I'd never, ever made anything like that in my life or ever imagined that I could. Now, why should you care about that right now? Because I was already past 50. So yeah, you're probably already doing the math in your head. Yes, you're right. And when I discovered my unique ability to be able to do this, right? And I learned one skill that against all odds turned into a thriving business that now over the past 20 plus years has brought in multiple seven figures for myself and for my clients, even greater for my clients with the things they were marketing. And nothing was wasted though from that previous experience. The things that I went through, nothing was wasted. That's why I know you can be whatever you decide to become. You can. And no matter what, I want you to really get that. It doesn't matter what the rest of the story is, what the story is up until this point today, because you've heard that saying, today's the first day of the rest of your life, but it's absolutely true. It's actually true that it doesn't matter what else has happened. It matters what you're doing with that right now. And it's not too late to step into what I consider to be your divinely gifted power. And we each have it. You have something you came into this world with, and create a thriving business. So today, what's happened, fast forward, I've been online creating success in freelance copywriting, marketing strategy, mindset shifting, coaching for more than 20 years. I've taught more than 1,000 students how to turn their words into money and discovered their gifts, because a lot of times there's surprising things that come out of the training where they realize something about themselves. It's about them. And so today I help experienced professionals and entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, really leverage their knowledge and their wisdom into rewarding online businesses. And in the process, a lot of times, life shift, transformation, because I've developed a transformational system that's grounded in the neuroscience of success. It's how our brains work, right? Proven marketing strategies, the art and science of ChatGPT comes in as a handy helper for sure, and the spiritual core of divine guidance. And this is what I would say makes my trainings completely different than anybody else's, because there's this bookend aspect of both the mindset aspect, which I'm going deeper and deeper into that inner work. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. And then we can move into the marketing and strategy things, which I consider to be the outer work that goes with that. It's so much more than headlines and bullet points. It's so much more than knowing how to write the emails, because it's a transformation of your core identity from the inside out. It's an inside job, and it's never too late. 2 key points I want you to keep in mind. It's never too late, and it starts on the inside. Now, for example, I have gotten recognized by various individuals during this path, including Montel Williams. Maybe some of you are familiar with him. He used to have a really great television show. He still does a lot of public events and other types of shows. And he says, I'm living proof that your second act can actually be your most successful. having built multi-million dollar empire in her 50s. And I don't know if I'd call it an empire, but definitely it's brought in that level of money over the 20 years. And then Frank Kern, very well known in internet marketing circles. He said, the thing I like about Tina, aside from the fact that she can write really well, thank you, Frank. I wrote quite a few things for Frank, is that she's an excellent mentor and teacher. She gets it. And that's really the calling. I love marketing. I love copywriting. I love words. When I was a kid, I read a lot and I made up stories. I didn't have a great, happy little home when I was a kid. So I spent a lot of time outside talking to myself, wandering around, telling myself stories, making up stories and pretending. Even if you don't know how to do anything else but these three elements we're going to discuss today, you can begin making money online. That's how I started. I started with one element. I didn't know any better, so I started with the hardest one, which is the sales letter. That's the big kahuna, and that's the hardest one to get your brain wrapped around of how do I write this sales letter? And so I just didn't know any better. I didn't know about emails. I didn't know about opt-in pages when I first started. So I want to assure you, you can start with one thing and actually do well. But we're going to diverge here for a second because the very first thing you have to add into the mix is what you see right here on the slide. Your heart, your sparkly heart, getting out of our heads and into our heart and connecting our heart to what we actually do. So I don't have slides for this. I just want to talk about this for a few minutes with you. And it's what I call quantum copywriting. It's a multi-layered approach, basically. And so it really goes into more depth and connectedness to how you're relating to your audience. Again, whether you want to be a copywriter for others or you have something of your own that you need to promote, this applies to all of that. And it's emphasizing a deeper consciousness, a creativity and intention in what you're writing and how you're communicating. And it really does go beyond traditional copywriting to resonate on an emotional, spiritual, and psychological level. And this is what's missing from so many copywriters. Believe me, I've seen a lot of copywriting programs, and this element is just not there. They don't know how, or so the really young bro marketers or whatever that are just, I just want to make the money. And a lot of times we start that way, right? I started that way. I just knew that I was supposed to do this thing. And I started I have to make money to support it. So obviously that's part of it, but it goes deeper than that because this is about an embodiment of writing from this part of you, your heart, not just your head, right? And so it's connecting to your body before writing. And if you don't know what that means, if you have not ever experienced, it's probably because you're operating very much from here all the time, but you can learn to make that connection if you haven't already, or if you suspect there's something more to this, my heart, my soul, my spirit. And it comes to really aligning with your true purpose, whether for yourself or for your client. Again, I'll just keep prefacing it goes either direction, but it starts with you, the person creating that marketing message. And so it's not just like clever copy that's going to work. It's actually deeply rooted in who you are. And that comes through even if you're working for clients. And so it's focusing on that emotional core of your message and writing from a place of love and empathy and genuine connection, real connection to your audience that touches hearts and moves people at a different level than just in their head. They feel it. You will feel it. You should be able to read your copy aloud and actually have a reaction. You might get chills. You might tear up. You might feel the excitement of the message that's building. You should be able to feel that in your own copy when you put it aside and read it aloud later to yourself. Or my husband, Ron, gets the Husband Support of the Year award or of the century because he's listened to just about everything I've ever written. I read it out loud to him. And that's gone for 56-page sales letters to one-page emails. But the multiple layers of this, just like a human, we have multiple layers, and that is what's coming through in how we create our copy, is that it operates on multiple levels. You're hitting multiple levels with your messaging. And so you're addressing both the surface level needs, the more obvious things, and the deeper unspoken desires or fears or dreams of that client. I'm not talking about pain point marketing. I'm talking about really understanding what's going on with the individual that you wish to impact and communicate with in an authentic way. And so it adds these layers of meaning and different aspects to the reader, for the reader, because this is about them, not you, not me, not us, but about them, right? And so it's aligning with that higher mission, that purpose. And we have a whole thing in my programs called the Celestial Sherpa, because we're both a messenger and an emissary. We receive messages for ourselves. And we create messaging for others, and we align with what's meant for us in guiding us personally, and then also guiding the people that we work with, those that are our audience. And so it transcends just selling. It moves into inspiring and transformation and uplifting. And why do we need this now? Okay, I'm a fan of ChatGPT. I've been called the ChatGPT whisperer. But more and more now, what people are craving is authentic connection, real human connection. And if you're seeing the proliferation of AI generated copy and messaging and videos and all the things that there really isn't a real person behind, as good as they may be, some of them, that we want that human connection. We want that heart to heart connection, and you want to have that with your audience. And so when I refer to what I call quantum copywriting, that's because the words carry a deeper weight, a deeper energy that creates copy that really sparks transformation and connection. That's what it does. And so what it also does for you, if you're a service provider, if you want to write copy for clients, or you're a coach, whatever you may be doing, or you're just getting started, it puts you in a different category than just a commodity. It's a point of differentiation that you can hang on to and expand right from the beginning. And this is beyond just I'm a copywriter and I'll write you some emails, a thing, right? It's more holistic. It's more soul-centered. It creates a soul-aligned business. And so, yeah, I'm not for everybody. I'm not for the ones that I call hit and run marketing. I just want to hurry up and do this thing and make some money. And I don't really care about those people out there. And there's plenty of folks out there that have marketed for years like that and have successfully marketed for years like that. But I think that's not you, or you wouldn't be here right this minute. And that's the thing. And then that carries forward into how you run your business. It's every aspect of your business comes from that space. All your communication comes from that space. Your decisions, your strategies, your interactions have that same depth and that same alignment as your copywriting does. And so one of the things when I work with people is that we remove what I call the debris, the sticky bits of old limiting beliefs that are often tracing back to childhood, right? All the way there, not blaming anybody. It's just the way life works and our brains work. And we remove those sticky bits, then we open up a pipeline for clear, more authentic communication and also more leverage and impact and belief, and then creation of higher levels of success for you as well as your clients. And so when your mindset is clear, your communication with yourself becomes more aligned and more intuitive and deeper guided, really. And that clarity flows through in all the things you do and how you connect with others, how you write, all of these things. So I wanted to take a moment here, even though I don't have a million slides for this, just to talk about this with you. And just put a yes in the chat if this resonates with you. If there's anything about this, it's yes, that if you feel it in a different way than just here's how we write a headline, folks, right? I just would love it if you just put yes in the chat if that's true for you. And really just thinking, lead with your heart. Just lead with your heart. And as we do that, then let's talk about how you can write your way to those 5K days with the triple whammy framework. Mm-hmm. Let's get down to what that actually is, okay? So the triple whammy number one is your landing page, your opt-in. And the fee range from that can be anywhere from $500 to $5,000. I've written landing pages that were in the thousands of dollars for my clients. And one of the things you can really depend on with me is I've been at this for a long time. And so I have a very good feel for what typical fee rates are. This isn't pie in the sky. And again, I cannot promise anybody's going to make anything. I can't promise you're going to make $1. You may just decide to keep doing whatever it is you're doing and not make any money from this whatsoever because you're not actually going to implement any of it. Again, I can't guarantee what anybody else is going to do. I'm probably highly unusual at what I did in my first year. I'm pretty sure I am actually. And for whatever reason, that's how it worked out for me at that time. Actually, people have asked me, how did you do that? And I was just completely single-minded, laser focused, excited. I'm doing this. I made a decision. And I just went for it without even looking left or right. Even though I didn't know what the heck I was doing, I just knew I was going to be that person and I'd figure out all the how of the doing as I went. And that's exactly what happened. So here's an example of a couple of things that I've written that are landing pages. On the left is when I've done a challenge, and this was a landing page with a video, and this is very typical headline, video, bullet points, and then more copy on the page. On the right-hand side, I have an opt-in for learning how to use ChatGPT and covering some of the power of it, and that it's a free email sequence. And so that's the landing page for that. And so you see, you can put your name and address in, and you can join. There's a button to join, or there's a place to put your name and email. That's what an opt-in page might look like. It's just a couple of examples. Triple whammy number 2, sales letter. And this is the big one, right? They can get very complex, and they range anywhere from $3,000 to $25,000 and up. Mine are more than that. And again, it's a lot more complex to learn. There's a lot of moving parts to it. But again, not impossible to do. And it's actually one of the core things of the triple whammy is that sales page. So understanding the components of it. I have a thing I call the 12-point persuasion platform and the anatomy of a sales letter, where it just lays it out in order. Here's the points you need to hit. And having guidance like that, it makes it so much easier to actually do. Here's a couple of examples. One on the left is from my Accelerated Entrepreneur program. That's the beginning of a sales page. And on the right is the beginning of a sales page I wrote for Frank Kern for Mass Control. He had a program that was super, super successful, millions of dollars in sales from it. And I wrote his final evergreen version of Mass Control. I wrote his sales letter for him. It was about 50 pages long. This is just the first page, right? And it was a super big winner for him. And what's really funny is just naming conventions are so much fun because it just sounds so mysterious. Mass Control, what is this? And you know what it was? Email. It was about email marketing. It was about how you maximize what you're doing in your business with email. And Frank's just always been a brilliant guy when it comes to naming his programs. And so it was called Mass Control. Triple whammy number 3, email sequences. This is the low-hanging fruit. If you're going to choose one thing to start with, learn to write emails. Email sequences, the fee per email can be anywhere from $250 to $2,000 per email, right? But typical, sometimes when people are first starting, they might charge more like $100 or $150 per email. And here's the thing. People need sequences. They need 7, 10, 15, 20 emails. I have programs that have 18 emails in a sequence, right? As far as promoting something, and here's what you're going to get, and here's when the shopping cart closes. That's when the sale is over thing. So all those things take emails. And so they're still very much in demand. And here's just a couple of examples. The one on the right is just a typical one that I wrote for my sequence on day 4. And that's just for myself. Day 4, the subject was first name, my ChatGPT revelation, and hey, first name. And so this is how it's written to be able to go out to a lot of people and be personalized with their name in it. But see how simple it looks on the page? It's not all heavy duty design and crazy tech involved or anything like that. You just can write it in a simple Word document. I use Google Docs for myself. I don't recommend you use them if you're working with a client because they can change them, right? Or do things with them. They can start messing with them. So I prefer to send something in a Word document with all the emails in it when I'm working with a client. Now, why email is the fastest path to making that $5,000 in a day? Because that's what it is. It's email that'll do it. And it's something I've named the free system. And what does that mean? It's fast revenue educational emails is what it stands for. So what are they? They're a short sequence of emails written with a very specific strategy. And what's different about them is that they're positioned as a standalone, almost like a mini course. And at the highest level, you would do an opt-in page with a new URL, like I have tinalorenz.com is one of my URLs. So maybe it would be here's how you do it.com, something completely different. So it's like a standalone. Somebody could be sent just to that page. There's nothing else to do on that page except sign in to get these emails. And they're positioned as something of value, not just here's an email sequence. It might be 5 or 7 emails that are going to come every single day for that 5 or 7 day stretch, like a mini course, answering the need someone might have, opening up the possibility of what they might want to be doing next. And so first you write a set of these for yourself to promote whatever you're doing. And it also shows the credibility that you believe in what you're doing. I have one that has 15 emails but they don't have to be that long. It could be like 5 to 7 emails. And for $5,000, I recommend it is only that long. You're not going longer than that. And then you could do them for your clients. And they may not have even thought of this. Now, it's not like wildly different than what's existed for a while with email marketing, but it's a positioning. It's a pre-framing kind of thing with them that creates a higher feeling of value and then leads to their offer. Let's say you're writing this for a client. Actually, someone who went through my program had a client that had to do with RV finishes, that her client put new finishes on the outside of big RVs. And so she used one of these educational email sequences for that. And what it did was get the person ready that was thinking about looking for, how do I get this finish on my RV? And when they signed up to get this free 5-day sequence about this particular finish on the outside of an RV, each one was just explaining more about what the product does and why you'd want it and how it extends the life of your rig and how it keeps the finish shiny, even in hot climates where the paint can get impacted by heat. It's protective. And so each email had a specific purpose in it. And by the last email, you're not selling in those emails, you're just educating. And on the last email, that's where there could be a call to action saying, okay, now here, we're having a special on this special coating, go here. So her client had a set of these that she'd written for them, and they did really well with selling their service because instead of having to explain all this every single time they talk to someone, they just went through a very short 5-day sequence and they got educated, raised their awareness about something they were already interested in, and they were ready to buy by the end of that because they didn't need to have a bunch more conversation. They'd already gotten their questions answered. See, so that's just kind of a really fast overview of how these work. And ChatGPT, of course, can make it much easier and faster to help you write them, not do it all for you, but to help you with a direction for them. And these are all things that I teach how to do this. But that's a $5,000 project right there with a specific opt-in written in a specific way. That's not just a little box, it's a longer page, as well as the emails that go with it that give value, that are pre-selling, what we call it, pre-framing someone into why they'd want the thing in the first place. And so a lot of marketers would love to have these. They don't know how to do it themselves. See, this is the thing. Never assume, even if someone's super successful online, that they know how to do any of this. They don't know how to write like this. They don't know how to make the sequence work for themselves in this way. And that's where you come into the picture. Now, here's why learning copywriting is a smart and profitable decision, because the top 2 most profitable digital writing niches, and I say niche, not niche, for 2024 are ghostwriting and email writing, right? And they just connect. And so that's exactly what we do with fast revenue educational emails, the free system. And so here's again, why they're easy to sell for $5,000. That's actually a very reasonable investment for someone to make to get this, because it'll work for them for a long time. They can just have it be part of their marketing for a very long time. Some of these things can work for years. I have copy online that's been online for over 10 years that is still working, selling someone's product today. And I'm pretty sure I've got some to go all the way back to more like 18 years. So when someone makes this investment, and let's just say they make an investment in this $5,000 email sequence and they have something they sell, let's just be modest and say they sell for $1,000. You're selling for $1,000. They only need 5 people. The first 5 people that purchased this paid for the whole thing. And now it's all profit. It's all profit from that original investment. So this is what you need to think about if you're writing for clients. You need to think about the long-term gain for the client. Reverse engineer, what is the potential earning power of that thing you wrote for them, and not charge just a few $100s to write this thing that can make them hundreds and thousands, multiples over some years because of the thing you wrote. And they're in demand. This statistic right here, they basically ask marketers how they would invest in their content in 2024. And this is going to go right on into 2025. This isn't changing. Maybe the number will go up. I don't know yet. But they basically said whether that either continue to create the same amount of content or more. And 88% answered affirmatively yes, that they want this, they want content. Email marketing like this is content, right? And the majority of businesses want to have these emails. This is from Opt-in Monster that did a survey on this, and 58% of those surveyed want more emails. They want more email sequences. See, the thing to understand is emails can be like, okay, here's a one-off email that goes out as a broadcast. It's just for today. But the vast majority of these valuable emails are set up in sequences. They're automated. Once they're written, they're put into a sequence and they just go automatically and on. And as a matter of fact, if you have enough emails for a marketer, they might have 50, 60, 70 emails that are more like what we call evergreen, that are maybe value-based and not for a specific offer. Perhaps they're just helping raise education and awareness, building relationship. Those can cycle through. And people honestly will not remember that they even saw those emails over the course of a year, and they can cycle through again. So they're continuing to go out. So you're keeping that connection with the audience, whether for yourself again or for your clients. And more good news, that free system is faster, easier, and simpler because it's easier than writing a sales letter. And so if you want to move fast, you can specialize in just learning how to write the emails and do them without triple whammy number 2, that sales letter. You know why? Because they are like a backwards sales letter. This is a term that I coined years ago. I think it's probably been stolen. I've talked about sideways sales letters and backwards sales letters, where you're going through a process, a sequence that is delivered via email. And so it's like the components of a sales letter, but just individually parsed out, spaced out in emails. And so consider them to be a backward sales letter that you're starting with the one email, then the next and the next. And so it's easier taking it in these small segments than it is writing a whole entire sales letter. Now, this sounds amazing, might sound overwhelming, but yep, I got you, because I have a program called Authentic Copy Accelerator. And I am the lead Sherpa, the celestial Sherpa for your courageous journey with something like this. If you're interested in learning how to do this, you learn the most valuable marketing skill. You develop a success mindset. You build a soul aligned business, work part time on your terms, potential to consistently create those $5,000 days. How many of those do you need a month? How much time do you spend working to earn an equivalent amount to that? That's why I say that copywriting is, I think, right at the top of the list when it comes to money-making levels of writing, unless you're a best-selling novelist or you're working for years on a book and hoping it's going to be a success, whatever. This is a very fast way, if you enjoy writing at all, if you enjoy words, and hopefully enjoy marketing, the psychology of it, that you can create revenue. I've proven it over and over again, and so have many of my clients. And you have more time to do other things, more money, more joy. I have never worked full-time in this business since I started. If I do go more hours just because I wanted to, but really you can be very part-time when you learn the skill and make a very nice revenue. Again, no guarantees, but Elizabeth came into the program. She had a real estate background and she gained the confidence to put herself out there, and she got her first client within 30 days. And she said, just follow the program. She said, literally anybody can do it, because she did it. And Julie was one of my early students who went on to create a very successful publishing house called Thanet House Publishing, where she started ghostwriting books for clients. So this skill comes into everything, including writing books for other people. I don't teach specifically how to write a book for someone else, but the skill of copywriting is at the core of all of this, because it's visibly woven in the aspects of creating that interest, creating that resonance, creating that alignment with something the person's looking for. That comes from copywriting. She says, just do it. Don't think, just do it. Don't let anything get in the way of learning a skill that can hold you in good stead for the rest of your life, and learn all the things Tina teaches. And this is because she started with me. She was only earning a small amount of money for a sales letter. And she went through my program years ago, and she went to $10,000, I think it was, for a sales letter. And she'd only been charging maybe $1,000 or something like that. And she told me the story that her husband looked at the bank account and said, "What'd you do, rob a bank?" Because of the deposit that he saw there. And it immediately shifted things for her. And then she continued on and then developed this whole skill of, okay, I'm going to write something more for other people. And she started ghostwriting books, and that became publishing. I think the last time I heard what she had been charging for ghostwriting a book was somewhere in the $30,000 to $50,000 level. And she started with copyright. That's why she said, learn it all, because it's going to hold you in good stead for your entire life. Now, there's a way we can do this together. Like I said, the slow way is trying to do all this all by yourself. And the Authentic Copy Accelerator is the ultimate guide for $1 million copywriting, because it works. It's been proven to work over and over again. And all this array you see here is what you get in this program. And I'm not going to read every single line of this right now. You can watch the video back, but every single segment, every module is with video lessons and workbooks all the way through it. People talk about, oh, you can make ugly sales pages and ugly. I can't do that. So all of my programs have really well done videos and really lovely workbooks, but they're effective, not just pretty. And so we go through authentic copy mindset. I start every one of my programs with how you're thinking, what's happening in your brain, what's happening with those neural pathways, what are those old habits of thought that might be holding you back, and how do we clear them out? And then we go into power up your copy, smoothing the flow, how you write smoothly, like a sales letter, magnetizing your leads when people are coming in through an opt-in, pull marketing secrets. This is like attraction marketing. We're not chasing. We don't want chasing energy. We want attraction to the ideal client. And not everybody's your ideal client. You're not for everybody. Whatever you're doing, whatever your programs are, whether you're a copywriter, whether you're a coach, whether you're a consultant, you are not for everyone. I'm not for everyone. And you don't want to be. And so our copy serves really two purposes: to attract right fit clients and to repel those that aren't. And that's exactly how we want it. Demystifying autoresponders. Autoresponders are those email sequences. We have a whole training on that. Copywriting business. A lot of programs leave out, well, okay, so what do I actually do? How do I get paid? How do I get paid in advance? Which is what I've taught and done my whole entire career, is get paid first, because your commodity are the words, the message that you're giving out. Now, this is if you're writing copy for clients. Your commodity may be you have a program, you have whatever. But if you're doing a service aspect of this, then you want to get paid in advance for that. And the Celestial Sherpa, what does that mean? What is that inner journey? What is that intuitive guidance that's available for each of us? That inner wisdom that I believe comes from divine source. It comes from ancestral intelligence. There's so many layers to this. And I just love it so much, all of this, because it's life changing. And then, of course, we have our congratulations when you get to the end of that. So 10 workbooks, 36 video sessions, accompanying workbooks, all of that. And this can be the make or break thing, is to work with someone who's been down this path, has walked it, worked it, done it, all of it, and experienced the highs and lows, made the mistakes, all those things to help you through that. We talk about mindset. We talk about how do you have that consultation call? What do you even say? We're going to have a private community. We have it all set up in school, a great private community where we can meet in between times, where you can access other people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. We have milestones, suggested assignments. You don't have to send them in. Not doing it that way, just there for yourself. You have a thing called 60-second sprints, which are a little mindset blast. Again, a whole array of stories around those of how life-changing those have been for people. And intro to copywriters and AI. So if you're not familiar with ChatGPT, a bonus training on that. And we're going to go through these real quick. The inspired bonuses, 11 ways to get your first copywriting client fast. Your step-by-step profitable email marketing with ConvertKit, which is a platform I highly recommend. Inspired bonus number 3 is 10 ways to instantly power up your copy. This is a video I did for a colleague that was having a challenge. It was a week-long challenge. And he said, your episode on powering up your copy was the most popular training in the entire week. And so I've left it in here as additional training for just instant ways that you can make your copy stronger, a guided meditation from a dear friend of mine, and master your mindset with a morning routine. And there's some ideas for how you can get going. And inspired bonus number 6 is the Fast Revenue Educational Email System for $5,000 days. The training of how do I set these emails up. It's a specific separate training. Alice got her investment back within a few months. In 3 months, Chris went from being a nurse to starting her copywriting business. Kristen was making more than she did full-time as a social worker. So many, there's Julie again, so many people with really great results from being in this program. If you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer them for you. I hope that you've learned something from this today. I hope it's given you some ideas. I hope it's given you some inspiration of what you can do with copywriting training, because it really is so much more than headlines and bullet points. It really is about connecting at a deeper level. If you have any questions, you can write to me at support@tinalorenz.com. Thank you for being here today, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and take care. I'll talk to you again.